This is our second chapter, and we are talking about work study and productivity. So we'll continue from where we left last time, and work study and productivity is our second chapter. Work study and productivity. Now, the objectives of this chapter are that we will be understanding the concept of method study and its relationship with the productivity, how the total time of a job is made up, various methods which are used to reduce the ineffective time, interrelationship between the improvements and the methods of doing a work. This is what we are going to understand. So, work study. So, in order to define work study, let's say it is a systematic examination of methods. So, we can say systematic examination of methods. And why would we want to do systematic examination? So we want to improve so as to improve the effectiveness of the use of resources or use of resources. And how do we do that? We do that by setting up standards of performance. By setting up standards of performance. So, in a simple way, we can say work study is a systematic examination of methods to improve the effective use of resources or to effectively use the resources by setting up standards of performance. Okay, so what is the relationship between standardization of the performance? It basically means that we set up standard ways, fixed ways of doing a certain work, and if you do that work in those fixed ways, you are going to achieve the work content which is intended in certain amount of time and a certain amount of effort. So we can say now, how is your total time to do a job is made up of? So total time to do a job. Total time to do a job got two components. One is basic work content, basic work content, and the second one is total ineffective time. Total ineffective time. We may also say this one is excessive work content. Excessive work content. So it has got two components, total time to do a job. Basic work content implies that you are only doing that job and nothing else. And total ineffective time has got many other components. We will see those components now. So we can see here that your total ineffective time has got three components. First component is work content added. Work content added by poor design or material utilization. So, if you are adding certain work, for example, let's say I give you a certain question to do. I expect that question should be done in 5 minutes. If you are totally concentrated on that question and doing nothing else, while in the same time, if you start looking into your phone or if you start looking if you start talking to your neighboring student so that you can improve your answer, then that is extra work content which you have added. Okay, it could also be because of the poor design of the product. For example, uh, let's say you made a design of an assembly where you did not make any provision for setting up the washer in assembling two products. Now, if washer is not there, it may be loose. The assembly may be loose. Okay, so that is a poor design. So in a way, then if it's not tightening up properly, then you have to make again machine it and make a seat for the washer. So that is poor design, you can say. So extra work content which has been added, you can say. So another one could be, this is we can say because of poor design. Then we have again work content added, which could be because of inefficient methods of manufacture. Inefficient methods of manufacturing or operation. So let's say you are using a lathe machine to make the workpiece, and there's a lot of vibration in that machine. So because of that vibration, your settings are getting lost very frequently. So you're adding up more time in that. That is an efficient way. Or if you are a worker and you have kept the tools to work on the workpiece far away from yourself, so then you have to again do a lot of movement. So that again is, we can say, is inefficient method of manufacturing. Then ineffective time could be third one. Ineffective time. Ineffective time could be because of resulting from human resource contribution. If your workers are lethargic, if they are disinterested, if there is a lot of absenteeism, workers are not coming on time, they are not coming at all, showing up on the duty. So these could be the problems, that is ineffective time. Or they're taking a lot of breaks. So these all contribute to the ineffective time. So you can see over here that the various components of ineffective time are given over here. Next, just a second. So I hope this was clear. Now let's go ahead and so talk about the basic work content. Now basic work content. So let's go to the previous slide again. So basic work content is the time taken to manufacture the product or to perform the operation when you have perfect design and the specifications. That means perfect in the sense the standard conditions, or everything is standard. There are no flaws in your design. There are and mostly design product related to the design. There is no problem, or the specification is right. And if the operation is carried out perfectly, there are no additional problems coming in your operation, and there is no loss of the working time also, then the amount of time in which you are carrying out the job is your basic work content. So we say work hour, we define a unit, define a unit of doing a job as work hour. So work hour is the labor of one person for 1 hour. Labor of one person for 1 hour. That is, amount of work done by one person in 1 hour is the work hour. And similarly, we also define as machine hour. Machine hour. That is again uh, work done by labor, or the amount of work done by the machine in 1 hour, or is the running time of machine or piece of plant of for 1 hour. So we can say that running time of machine. That means in an hour, how much time the machine is actually running. So this basic work content is not reducible, generally not reducible, and it is theoretically the minimum time to produce one unit of output. Minimum time produce one output, one unit of output, one unit of output. So generally, it is not possible to attain perfect BWC, but then there's always going to be an effort to achieve BWC. Later, we talk about we can further classify in detail now work content by poor design. I mean, work content added by poor design or material utilization. So it can be because of the three things. I think we can further classify it. It's poor design. I'll write PD as the poor design and frequent design changes. So if you're even if you are changing design frequently, the lot of time goes waste in those changes, setting up and all. Waste of materials and incorrect quality standards. See, actually, when a product is made, there are certain minimum quality standards it should be meeting. And if it does not meet those quality standards, they have to be reworked. So excess work content is we can put it in detail. So how can we make it correct? Product development. So poor design over here, it can be dealt with proper product development, use of product development methods, which reduces the work content due to poor design. Then poor material utilization, or we can do that by uh, simply waste of the material can be dealt by proper utilization of material. So there are many ways of doing that. You can you can see that if this material is suitable for this particular job or not, or we can find out as per specifications how much material is required. Are we not supplying excessive material to achieve the intended purpose? जो काम हमको करवाना है प्रोडक्ट से, हम ज्यादा मटेरियल तो नहीं दे रहे हैं. मान लीजिए आपको क्रेन हुक डिजाइन करना है और वो क्रेन हुक की कैपेसिटी चाहिए आपको 1 टन उठाने की, बट आप उसको इतना मटेरियल से बनाते हैं कि वो 2 टन भी उठा सकता है, बट रिक्वायरमेंट तो 1 टन की है. सो बेसिकली दिस इज अ वेस्टेज ऑफ मटेरियल. So we have to look into that. Then proper quality control, like correct quality standards. So for that we have quality control policies. You're going to read about quality control by in detail in the later part of your courses. Then you have then we were talking about mm, work content resulting mainly from work content added by inefficient methods of manufacturing or operations. So, work content added because of ineffective manufacturing or operations. So, there are many ways in which it can happen. Poor layout and utilization of space, poor layout. So I will show you a video on poor, what is meaning of layout. So let me show you a video on what is the meaning of layout. Just a second, yeah. Just a second.
Were invented not long after the California Gold Rush, when a certain Mr. Levi Strauss began. Jeans were invented not long after the California Gold Rush, when a certain Mr. Levi Strauss began making miners' denim work pants with copper rivets. To say he came up with a winner is something of an understatement. 450 million pairs are sold every year in the US alone, and worldwide the denim market is worth around $40 billion. But every pair of jeans has made an amazing journey from the cotton field to the high street store. Those jeans are made here in Tehuacan. This is Mexico's largest jeans factory and produces designs for most of the famous American brands, churning out 400,000 pairs every month. A typical pair of 5-pocket jeans uses 15 pieces of cloth. So they first stack the denim into piles of 100 sheets, ready for each piece of the design to be cut.
So now you would see the meaning of layout. Layout basically means how machines are spread across the shop floor, or how the workstations where the work is going on are located with respect to each other.
It's up to pattern layer Antonio Martinez to make sure that as little material as possible is wasted. Using a computer, he can limit the offcuts to just 7%. Once he's happy, the pattern is printed onto paper. Next, the design is rolled out over the denim. This stage is more like carpentry than tailoring, and with the denim 100 sheets deep, any mistake will be costly. Once cut, it's like a military operation, with an army of jean genies assigned to one specific task. Each pair of jeans takes 15 minutes to make and requires 1.6 meters of denim, several hundred meters of thread, 6 rivets and 1 zipper.
He also said that each gene is taking 15 minutes. So what does that mean? It basically means that on an average, a standard worker is taking this much time. Okay. Yeah.
Or 5 buttons. On seam ironing duty is Marie Cruz.
I like my job a lot because there's no pressure here, unlike other areas of the factory. I iron 300 pairs a day. I like ironing, but later my back will hurt.
Marie adds the finishing touches to these spanking new jeans, but they're still not ready to grace a cowboy's behind. These days, everyone's too cool to wear jeans that look brand new. So they're about to become distressed by being slipped onto some rubber legs, blown up and given a little rough handling. In just 60 minutes, this team are going to make the jeans look like they've spent the last 5 years being dragged around a mine. So they set to work sanding in worn patches, grinding in frayed edges, and spraying on stains. Then, to add a few worn-in designer creases, it's out with a high-tech laser gun. These jeans get an even rougher ride than the Buckaroos. To give them a final hammering, they're tossed into gigantic washing machines, along with a few buckets of volcanic rock. Once dried, the jeans are now shrunken and nicely worn in. Or totally trashed, according to your point of view. After a quick press and the obligatory label, so you know whether they're designer expensive or just cheap and cheerful, they're boxed and ready to be shipped to budding Bronco busters everywhere.
So there we have seen the whole idea of showing that layout was that how machines are spread across the shop floor, how people are arranged from work, how does the workflow from work one station to another. So if that layout is poor, then it's quite possible that it may occupy more space and may consume more time for the work to travel around the shop floor. Then you have the another thing that could do is uh, material handling is poor. If your material is being handled is not being transported from one workstation to another with the proper safety and with the proper care, they might break in the way, so they may have to be reworked or scrapped. So you should have better material handling equipments which reduce time and effort as well. Then frequent stoppages of the work. So while your work is going on, let's say that lady was working on a press. She was ironing the uh, jeans over there. So if the iron breaks down, so that machine that some lot of jeans will not be um, pressed in time. So they should have a backup, something like that. And let's say some fresh order comes and they are ready to pay larger amount for the same product but they want it quickly, तो आपको पुराना जो lot है उसको रोक के और ये काम करेंगे, so then your planning is not correct. So you can say that this can be avoided by doing proper production planning. Then method study. To utilize, or you can say this may I may write over here instead of method study, I may write inefficient method of work. Inefficient method of work. Then you may have poor planning of inventory. Poor inventory planning. Let's say आप pen बना रहे हैं, okay, and some basic parts of the pen include a nib also. And nib आपकी कंपनी में नहीं बन रही है, बाहर से आती है. So let's say you have made the complete thing. आपके पास plastic body है, refill है, cover है, everything you have, but the nib has not come or the tip has not come because shortage नहीं है, you didn't place order properly, आपको कम पड़ गई है, आपको बनानी थी 1000 but you are having only 800 nibs. बाकी सब है आपके पास मटेरियल बट आपके पास 800 निब्स है, तो आप 800 ही बना पाएंगे, तो 200 कम पड़ गई है. सो इन अ वे आपकी इन्वेंट्री प्लानिंग ठीक नहीं थी. सो यू शुड हैव बेटर इन्वेंट्री कंट्रोल प्लान सो दैट यू शुड हैव सफिशिएंट अमाउंट ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल टू कंप्लीट द फाइनल प्रोडक्ट. And then you can have frequent breakdowns of machines is another thing. Frequent breakdown of machines, so which could be handled by preventive maintenance, which ensures longer life and continuous run of machines and equipments. So these are few methods to reduce ineffective time. Then we can talk about human resource as well. So mm, ineffective human resource. So ineffective human resource could be because of three things: absenteeism, and lateness. The second could be poor workmanship, poor workmen. And third one could be accidents and occupational hazards. So absenteeism could be managed by doing proper management and making personal policies that how often you can be absent and all, creating an environment where people would like to come for the job. Satisfying working environment could be created. Then poor workmanship could be handled by proper training and developing appropriate skills. Uh, Accidents and occupational hazards could be handled by better providing better working conditions, improving morale, and all these things. So the thing is that whatever solutions we have discussed over here, they can't be applied in isolation. कि एक हमने एब्सेंटिज्म और लेटनेस कम कर दिया तो हमारा इफेक्टिव ह्यूमन रिसोर्स हो जाएगा, बट टुगेदर ये दे ऑल आर इंटर रिलेटेड. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू डोंट ट्रेन द वर्कर प्रॉपरली, ही मे गो टू अ जॉब वेयर ही फाइंड हिमसेल्फ इनएडिक्वेट. उसको लगेगा कि मैं अच्छे से काम नहीं कर रहा हूँ, तो क्या करेगा, वो छुट्टी लेने लग जाएगा, उसका मोरल बूस्ट नहीं होगा. ऑन द अदर हैंड, इफ द वर्कर इज प्रॉपरली ट्रेन्ड, उसकी वर्कमैनशिप अगर अच्छी होगी, So naturally he'll be more interested and he'll be happy about his work. He knows that he's doing good, he knows how to do it, he's not inferior to his workers, वो किसी से कम नहीं है. So he'll probably not be absent or will not take too many breaks. He'll be enjoying his work, and when he's enjoying his work, he'll be more attentive. So if he's more attentive, the chances of mishaps or accidents happening will be obviously less, and he'll be taking care of all the precautions जो भी बोले गए हैं. At the same time, okay, so these they all are linked with each other. So similarly, we can also see that अगर आपकी production planning अच्छी है, तो आपके probably inventory में issues भी नहीं होंगे. Inventory में issues नहीं होंगे तो frequent stoppages भी अगर होती हैं तो उतना बड़ा problem नहीं आएगा आपको. So they all are interlinked to a larger extent. So we can say that none of these suggestions which we talk about exist without each other. One or the other way, all these affect each other. So we can see over here now what we have done. Total time to required to do a job was basic work content and total ineffective time. So then further we analyzed what are the components of total ineffective time. So we've seen work content added could be because of the poor design, or uh, here we have seen poor design is there, and then uh, uh, inefficient material utilization, then ineffective methods of operation, and then ineffective time. So all these things we have further talked about them in detail, that what are their further components and all. So we go to chapter 3 now. It's basically about the work study, the approach. So work study approach basically uh, means that in the previous chapter we talked about time, like basic work time and another time. Now why it basically tells that a lot of ineffective time or inefficient use of human resources there. So we need to establish some standards with which we should be working, and we can lay down some guidelines for the worker to work. So that's why now we are talking about how do we do the work study, and what will be the steps of the work study is what we are going to talk from this point onwards. So now I think this chapter 3. So I'll be taking up chapter 3 in the next class.